Good evening. I'm Chanel, Vehicle Title Expert. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I thank you in advance for subscribing. So, tonight I will be talking about the three mistakes that people make when it comes to the native value and vehicle sales tax. On tonight's segment, I will not talk about the native value from a consumer perspective, but I will talk about the native value aspect from DMV's eyes. So, I want to start off by saying the DMV uses the native value to assess how much your vehicle is worth and then the applicable sales tax that will be charged if your state charges sales tax accordingly. Okay, so it's like a system the DMV uses that they use to determine the taxes for that vehicle. With that being said, the DMV will not take into consideration the damages of the vehicle, if there are any damages, or the mileage on the vehicle as well. But they strictly go by the native and nothing else when it comes to assessing the applicable tax on that vehicle or sales tax. So with that being said, with the three mistakes in question, I want to highlight the first mistake, and that is putting random sales price amounts on your title. This is a very frequent mistake that I see a lot, and it usually happens when you get a title from that seller and the seller may have forgotten to put the sales price down on the title. So you, the buyer or the consumer, you'll take it upon yourself and you'll put down a random amount because you're hoping that you can pay the least amount in taxes as possible. But when you do this, you don't realize that if the amount you're putting down is significantly less than the NADA or native value, it's going to raise a red flag with the DMV. So DMV could ask you to provide a bill of sale or an affidavit, depending on your state. And if you don't have whatever documentation DMV is asking for, you could be required to pay taxes on the NADA value of that vehicle. So, huge mistake if you're going to put down a random number. Okay. My recommendation is to get that seller to put down the amount that the vehicle actually was sold for. Okay. And of course, have the documentation to, reflect that. Number two, putting zero in place of an actual gift, another serious issue. So if you are receiving a vehicle as a gift, do not put zero because the DMV system will not recognize zero as a gift. If the vehicle is actually a gift, make sure you get the applicable statement from the party in question based on your state, and the DMV will acknowledge that. Now, let me say this. Gift does not always mean that you are not going to pay vehicle sales tax, in your state, depending on your state. Normally, you would be exempt from gift vehicles in the aspect of spouse to spouse, child to parent, parent to child. Those are the core exemptions when it comes to gift. So even if someone gives you a vehicle, it is still a likely possibility that you still could pay sales tax based on the native value of that vehicle in the DMV system. So be very prepared to pay taxes even though the vehicle is a gift. I know that might sound strange, but again, that is what happens. So if you're not a spouse, if you did not receive a vehicle from your child or you didn't gift to your child, most likely you are going to pay, taxes. Now, I'm not going to get into, the exemptions tonight. I did a video a while back on sales tax exemptions, but unless you are like a 501c3, then of course, there are different exceptions for your case. But again, when it comes to gifts, the basic examples I just mentioned, you would be exempt from the vehicle sales tax. But if that's not your circumstance, even though it was a gift, you will be paying that minimum sales tax or the tax on an NADA value according to DMV. And the last mistake that I see a lot is people not getting bill of sales. Let me just share, I don't care how much your vehicle costs, whether it's $500, $10,000, $100,000, you want to always get a bill of sale from the seller, okay? Whether it's an individual, whether it's an auction, whether it's a dealer, always get that bill of sale. Now, I want to add, depending on your state, if that bill of sale amount is less than the native value, sometimes DMV still could require additional documentation from you. Also, an affidavit could be required depending on the age of the vehicle. So when you are, putting down the sales tax amounts and things of this nature, keep these three mistakes in mind as you will want to avoid these three mistakes when it comes to the native value and vehicle sales tax. DMV, they are aware that people want to skip out on paying the required sales tax amount. So just putting down the incorrect information on your title on purpose, or simply just because you don't want to be bothered with the process, you don't know, it could really cost you more in taxes. So you want to be vigilant and put down the correct amount. If you're getting information from the seller that you may think doesn't add up regarding the age of the vehicle and things of that nature, be very firm and get things in writing from that seller so that you can present it to DMV accordingly, and you will have things hopefully to work out in your favor when it comes to any sales tax that you could be required to pay. If you have any questions as it pertains to the native value and vehicle sales tax, feel free to drop me a line below or visit me at wisdomandauthority.com. Please click share and subscribe. Please check me out on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to hear from you soon.